Hello everyone, it's Michelle Patterson here with Angel Souls, and this is your weekly Angel Oracle card reading for the week beginning August 21st, 2017. This is a huge week. We're going to talk about it. I meditated and got part of the message, and then of course we're going to go to the Oracle cards. But I want to start off by saying if you want to get a personal reading with me, go to my website at angelsouls444.com. This services page. If you'd like to support me on Patreon, I always leave all that information down below, in addition to information for my courses that I have up over at Gumroad. Now for this week, we're going to be using the Magdalene Oracle by Tony Carmine Salerno. Then of course pulling a crystal card from the Healing Crystal Oracle by Rochelle Sharman. So what do we need to know for this coming week? First and foremost, like I said, I'm going to give you that meditated message. We'll get that started here in just a moment. But I also want to mention that you might want to start your clearing practices now, okay? And if you're into ceremonies, get going on that. So essentially what I have going on right now is I have a series of candles lit. Of course, I have my sage going, I have incense going, and I've been doing quite a lot of higher consciousness meditation. And anytime, and when I'm doing those higher consciousness meditations, what ends up happening is I'm finding that I think like realizations start popping up, but they're realizations that don't always feel comfortable. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe having some bad memories pop up and so on and so forth. So instead of fighting that off, we are to recognize that. Now here's the thing. Everyone's going to have a very dichotomous kind of experience this week. It just depends on where you are. Now I'm sure a lot of you have heard our spiritual teachers out there talking about how we're going to be a split earth. We're coming into that, where on one level, people who want to stay in worrying about money, people who want to stay in a frequency where they're just worrying about 3D reality, trying to satisfy ego pursuits or whatever that might be, you're going to remain in the third dimensional ego consciousness. And then we have the fifth dimensional consciousness, which is our higher selves. And so some of us are going to start taking that perspective as well. So here's the deal with that. I think there's this misconception, and we definitely had this around 2012, where it was like, we're going to those of us who are ready, we're going to evaporate, right? And if you go with any sort of wisdom teachings or whatever, you know that the physical body kind of shrinks and shrivels down and the light body is there. We saw this with Christ, okay, where Christ's body, physical body just kind of went and he was in his light body, and that was the resurrection. So now I'm not sitting here saying we're all going to resurrect this week, but what will happen is if you are in a space of allowing, I know people get upset about hearing that, but if you're not in a space of allowing, nothing happens, right? So this can be a change in perspective, okay? So it could, just on a more mundane level, it could start playing out like if you're choosing that higher frequency. This isn't in a pretentious way, like I'm going to take the high road. It's not like that. It's genuinely, feeling compassion for someone, even if they're incredibly upset and, they might be rattling you a little bit, but having a lot of compassion for them. It's going, okay, you know what? Maybe things aren't working out in my physical human story the way that I thought, but I have a lot of trust and a lot of faith that whatever is to come, there's a higher intelligence at work here. So that's what we're going to be seeing. We're going to see, so, how it's going to play out in the world, I don't know. I hate to say this, but we are eventually going to evolve past the need for predictions, and we are going to be evolving and knowing what our true power is, and knowing that our wisdom is trusting that whatever comes about, we, number one, will be able to handle it, and two, it is for the highest good. So long as we as individuals are pushing that kind of positive light force out there and contributing in that way. So there is something as an individual that you can absolutely do, and that's why I recommend the higher consciousness meditations. And of course, things are still going to be happening in your life, and you're going to have to contend with things, but you're going to be able to approach it with such grace that it shouldn't have the same impact on you that maybe it had previously. Okay, so there's that. So there's coming into that higher consciousness, coming from that different perspective. And what probably will start to happen is you'll find, for some people, again, on a very mundane level, you find that old situations start to fall away. We talk about this all the time. And I just realized today as I was meditating, I was like, wait a minute, I wasn't invited back for that one thing. And immediately, you know, my ego got in there and I started to kind of get like a fraction of a second. I was like, why didn't they? And I'm like, I evolved past it. I evolved past it. I'm not a match for that anymore. It's a good thing. All right. So if you find that situations or people suddenly don't want to be your friend anymore or whatever, let them step back. Again, this is not a self-righteousness and like, yeah, you know, I've evolved past you. No, that's not being in your wisdom, guys. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. So the experiences, like I said, are going to be probably varied and immense as far as it plays out on a world stage. I mentioned before, I'm not really sure. We're trying to evolve past the need for predictions and practicing more faith and trust, and more faith and trust in our own abilities as well. But what I can say, and one of the things that I feel is coming through very, very, very strongly, is that we're kind of going up like this, again, most of us, okay? And that's making it so there's like a clearer frequency there for us to understand whatever messages need to come through. Now, I have such a big and varied audience here, so you know, there's some messages for some of you out there and there's messages for others, but I will say that the more you're thinking like, I just saw an angel go by. I just saw it, a big old spark. I just zoom. It just like went like that. That was awesome. Okay, anyway, for some of you, you're going to be like, oh, I need a message about whether that guy likes me or not. I need a message about my love life. I need a message about money. I need a message. You're in 3D. Okay, is that bad? No, but you might want to join the 5D movement here. Okay, pretty soon you're not going to have a choice. All right, because that 3D world, the construct around it is going to start falling apart. A lot of people, and I've felt this myself, you know, we're going to probably see the deconstruction even of our financial system. And, you know, however you want to define structure and whatever kind of capacity, that's going to start to crumble and it's going to start falling. And then if you're stuck in that, you know, you're in trouble. I'll use the example, you guys remember a few years ago, all the banks just went like, you know, got into a whole bunch of trouble. Do you remember all the horrible stories that came out of that? Executives who their whole life was based on money and it was based on having power. I mean, it was horrible. Like a lot of them were giving up on their lives. Like I don't want to go too graphic with this video, but that was the most tragic thing. When I heard that, I'm like, wow, you really felt like you had nothing else to live for? Your life was so contingent upon how much money you made that day? And who was frightened of you and willing to do your bidding? Wow. As soon as they lost their power, there was nothing left for them. This is what we're talking about. The stuff that we give so much energy to is such a minute part of our existence. It's such a small, it's just a tiny little story that we've written beforehand that we play out so that we can grow and evolve our souls. But now it's time to stop playing in first grade. Okay, it's time to graduate out of that. So if you are in that place this week where, you know, you're so focused on, you know, the various areas of your life, and trust me, okay, I'm going to give this as a little caveat too. There's going to be so many readers out there who are like, don't listen to that. I'll help you. I'll give you an emergency reading. I'll take more of your money. Careful. Please be careful. Okay? That's a whole other video. But anyway, just be careful, because I feel the need to tell people that, because people are still going to be in that lower frequency and maybe scared, and there are people that are going to be more than willing to suck your energy in the way of money and take advantage of that. Okay? So just be aware. For everybody else, I don't think fifth dimensional energy just happens. You know, I mean, you're gonna backslide every once in a while because you're still on this path. You're still trying to learn how to grow your soul. But this could be the week where you get abundant clarity, a lot of peace. And I'm going to be very honest with you. I've had an incredible week. Not to brag, but I've had a really good week. And it began with, you know, I was in meditation, and, you know, I Jesus. I'm team Jesus. It's not like I'm against everybody else, but I'm team Jesus all the way. And I felt like I knew Jesus before. I wasn't raised in a religious household, and I already felt like I knew Jesus to the point where I felt like he was my brother and I missed him, right? So very, very close to Jesus. So I was doing this meditation. I won't bore you with all the details, but this incredible experience happened, and I was gifted. I felt gifted with something in my heart space, and that it was an activation. It was the word that keeps like pulsing through my head is like crystalline heart, or whatever. And I'm not even sure. I mean, I've heard people throw that around, but I'm still kind of feeling out what that means in me and like what I'm supposed to do. But I know every time I've done a meditation since then, it's like the energy goes right to my heart and just bursts out. And having a deeper understanding of how the character I play in this world, and getting closer to how I'm supposed to serve all of you, and what kind of love I can offer to you, and any kind of message I can filter through to help anybody out there who's willing to listen. It's that kind of thing. So I had this beautiful experience, and I didn't ask for it. I didn't even know that it was possible. Okay. And then I didn't really think much more of it. Like I have these cool little things happen in meditation all the time. But I noticed that as I just kind of, I'll admit, in an oblivion, just kind of went on about my life, I'm like, everything is so beautiful. Everything is so vibrant. And what was even more amazing, the people I came in contact with were other I feel like I wasn't the only one who got activated. Like, I feel like a lot of people got activated, and we're not even there yet. We're not even at this astrological event, right? Like, I felt like other people were kind of seeing the love and seeing the true soul within another, and having that clearer vision. So in this coming week, first of all, the people that this happens to, I know you would never take the viewpoint of, oh, it was just like a little spiritual thing. You would never take that viewpoint. You would know that that's the greatest gift of all, and that you are truly blessed. And wait for that. So if you haven't had your sort of, I feel like I had an activation. I kind of wonder what's going to happen next week, if it's going to build on that. But if you haven't experienced anything like that, really lay down your story. Just, you hear that whole movement, vegan for 7-day challenge or whatever. Try to lay down your human story for 7 days. Just, try that out next week, where you're just like, okay, I know I have bills. Yes, I know I have this going on, or maybe, God forbid, you got some sort of diagnosis, health diagnosis that you have to deal with, or maybe you just suffered a breakup. Just do what you can to lay that story down, and be meditating, and even as far as, because I know people always want to do everything so correctly, and they're like, what kind of meditation? Just ask for guidance from your personal angels and ask them to guide you to the appropriate thing. You might find that the right meditation for you is just sitting in your living room with your eyes closed, and just breathing. It just depends. There's so many paths to that higher intelligence, okay? And that's the next thing I want to talk about here. This is going to be a long video, of course it is. It's an important week. It's an important time. This is what came through my meditation, having more trust in divine intelligence, tapping into that as a resource, not depleting, we are not alone in this. You hear that all the time, but what the heck does that mean? That means you don't have to constantly keep just cycling your own energy out and trying to regenerate and then cycle it out and regenerate. That's most of what we hear. And as far as a lot of people have gone with our spirituality, it's like, well, I needed to get out into nature to regenerate. I had to do some yoga to regenerate. I did a meditation to regenerate. Now we're getting to this level of intelligence. Can you tell I can't even talk? There's so many, there's so much energy. There's so many things flipping around my head. Like my mouth isn't moving fast enough. I do apologize. But now, and some people have already known this for a while, now we're learning how to really take in what's on offer. Okay. And that doesn't mean, oh, give me money or give me, not that that's necessarily bad, but again, you're laying down your story this week, right? That's taking in this divine energy and letting it flow through you. Now, every time I do that as an exercise, I feel it coming in through my crown. Some people feel like they want to pull it up from the earth. Whatever works for you is just fine, okay? But I do prefer to pull that energy in. And I kid you not, just as an example, I went for a hike. This was one of the other blessed things. You guys know I talk about hiking all the time. But there's a trail that I go on constantly. And it ends at a residential street. And the first time I did this hike, I looked because I'm like, the path has got to go on. I looked right, I looked left. I even went left for a little while and realized it wasn't going anywhere. So I came back, and I have gone on that path so many times since then. And then I want to say it was like on Tuesday. I'm recording this on a Thursday. I think it was Tuesday. I went up that same path, and I just felt guided to go right. I went right, and there was the opening to the rest of the path. Now, I had my own little personal Mandela effect moment, because I was like, no, wait a second. like I was over here before, that was not here. There's a sign there and everything. So I kind of got a laugh out of that, and I kept on going. And me and the sun, we don't always get along. We don't play nicely together. I get like, is it like sun poisoning? Is that the thing? Anyway, I started getting an extreme headache, and I just wanted to keep going. I went on this incredible hike. And before the headache set in, I came up on this part of the path, and the most unbelievably beautiful, like just when I thought Colorado Springs couldn't get any more beautiful, then I go on this path that I didn't even know existed. And oh my gosh, it was like all of heaven was sort of like laid out in front of me. And I just took a moment, and I took it in, and I enjoyed it. And the sky was incredibly blue, and even the clouds were like backlit. So that it was weird, because the sun was still streaming through, the radiating kind of thing, but the clouds were all like these like silver linings around the clouds. In addition to that, right now all of the sunflowers are in bloom. So I'm going through, and I just could feel like the nature angels around me. I really felt very open, as if there was no veil whatsoever, no veil to speak of, as if I could hear them as clear as day, and they understood me. And when I was coming, I started getting, sorry, I got to tell you this other part about getting the headache, because the sun is just like beating down on my head. And I was not prepared for this hike. I just kept going. And I remembered pulling in divine energy. And that's the only thing that got me back from that hike, was just really breathing in that energy so that I was revitalized and I could keep going. And then on the way back, another really cool thing happened. Monarch butterflies are out everywhere here. And I think in Mexico, you guys associate monarch butterflies with the Day of the Dead, because I think that's when they migrate to you. But here, it's summertime, right? That's when they're out flying around. So it's not uncommon to see 3-4 monarch butterflies. When I was coming back from the path, these monarch butterflies were flying, and some of them were kind of like flying parallel to me, as if they were guiding me on, where to go. So many of them, I couldn't even begin to count, nor did I care to count. I just took it all in and just stood there while they fluttered around me, and it was unbelievable. So in this coming week, these are the kinds of experiences that some of us might be awakening to. It's not just like, oh, I got this sign. Again, we put so much importance around what do things mean? What's the sign? I'm not really interested in that. All I'm interested in is embracing how it felt, embracing being a part of it. You hear the whole thing, just be. Don't try so hard, just be. And that's what I did. That's what I did. I was just being. And the whole time I felt like my heart was, again, activating and sort of shining out. So the reason why I'm going through all of this, number one, as your messenger, if you trust me for messages, I think it's always important for me to be as transparent as possible. That's kind of my basis. I don't hide from you guys. I don't pretend to not be going through the same things that you are. And if I have an activation, if I have a growth spurt on a soul level, I think it's imperative to share that with you. So this coming week, we haven't gotten to the cards yet, I realize, but this coming week is about that. It's about allowing the veil to come down. Now, does that mean you're going to be full on in 5D? That'd be nice, but I don't know. We can't leave our brothers and sisters behind, and there's too many people that are still stuck in density that, I don't know. I know I'm going to be one of the last ones going fully into 5D, because it's like the emergency mission, right? Like, we're supposed to be there to help other people to get out of it and to come on over. Okay, that's not to say that we are better or, whatever. It's not that. We're all perfect where we are, but it is time to get that consciousness raised. All right. And I've been saying that for a long time. It's no longer a game. All right. So really trusting in that divine intelligence, which is to say, if things are not playing out the way that you thought they would, don't whine about it. Okay. Now that's got to stop. The whining. That's from me too. I'm talking to myself. Okay. Because, we're all there. And one of the most freeing parts of, how things have gone the past few days for me personally, if I may offer this as well, is that, I suddenly didn't have to worry about anything. I know that sounds weird, but I was like, it's just part of the story. It'll work itself out. There'll always be enough. It'll come. I'm trusting that I'm open enough that when I do get a message for me to take action within my life, that I have a clear enough telephone line to know exactly what, when, how, and I don't have to think about it. It's just going to be kind of like automatic, like turning right when I got to the end of a path and thought that was it and started kind of going backwards. No, it's time to move on. It's time to keep going. And where you're going, don't get me wrong, this sucker, this is a metaphor here for you. That trail that I was telling you about was steep. It was very, very steep. And there were times where I was like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this, but I kept going in full faith that I had all the strength to do so. And when things got too challenging, I pulled in divine energy. And when I was coming back, when it was time to return, I was showered with blessings, showered with beauty. And there was such a different feeling about that. It was like remembering what I once was, something that has been long lost, coming back. And I bet you that's what a lot of you are going to be experiencing in this coming week. Okay, so let's get on to the cards. Oh, I already cleared them out. I was going to clear them again, but I did a whole thing around these with the sage and everything. So let me just, as I do, I'm just going to be quiet here for a moment. Let me tune in. And if you will, just close your eyes right now too and keep breathing into your heart space. And let's connect hearts. One more, and I think, well, maybe one more after that. That should do it. What do we have here? Acceptance. This was on the bottom of the deck. And I always make note of what's on the bottom of the deck just to see if it's going to come up again. And it has. Acceptance. Our life isn't something, yes, we're the masters of our own, existence and all that good stuff. But remember, you're also co-creating. So accepting that things are the way that they are because they need to be. Because it's getting us somewhere. And, I think that's going to be the hardest thing for us as humans is to release that need to control our own lives. Okay, if you're not married and you want to be, accept it. If you want to have children and you're not getting pregnant right away, accept it. Divine intelligence. If you're in a job and you don't like it and you want another job and it's not coming, accept it. Because there's something else going on that you can't see. But the thing is if you go into that higher frequency, if you really start connecting into your higher self, you might get to see the why. No guarantees. If it's not right for you to know, you won't know. But you'll get a clearer bird's eye view and you'll see like, okay, stop struggling with this. Stop trying to make something happen that's not right for you. Okay? Or perhaps it's not the right timing in the example that I gave with having a baby. Maybe it's not the right time. Perhaps it's not happening because, oh, look at that. A new job came along and now you have to move. And let's say you're a woman and you're doing this and you're the one who's going to be pregnant. That might have been really rough on you and maybe rough on the baby for you to go through those kinds of changes and those kinds of shifts. Thank you. And a lot of things that you want are being delayed because they're not right for you or you're about to go through a huge upgrade. You're upgrading your energy. So those old things that you wanted, you're not going to want them anymore. Or they're not going to be appropriate, okay, for the story, the new kind of story that's playing out for you. Make sense? Okay, so here's sacred sexuality. And well, I'll hold all these up, but this is about, again, creating your existence. It's about sexuality as well. So there might be some healing that goes on there. One of the biggest, how do I say, squashers of our power has been minimizing sex. One of the things that has always really just bothered me as a human is when somebody says, oh, it's just sex. Oh, get over it. Oh, grow up. It's just sex. What's the big deal? Oh, you know what? He cheated on his wife, but he wasn't in love with her. It was just sex. I mean, or I hear this out of women especially, like, oh, men will be men. I mean, it was just sex, I guess. You could tell they're hurt and they don't buy into that, and yet they're trying to convince themselves. That is the crazy, you don't want to talk about, like, you want to go conspiracy theory a little bit. Think about all of our entertainment, our movies, our music, and how it cheapens the sexual act. And when you do that, you are essentially wasting your creative energy. You're throwing it away. And now you're weak. And now you don't have anything to create the kind of life that you want. And now you live this very perhaps sad existence if you're not getting the job, like we said before, you're not getting the job that you want. Well, why can't I create the things in my world that I want? You don't have any power left, right? Or let's say you're not giving away your sexual energy. Let's say that that's not happening. Maybe you go the exact opposite way where you're ashamed of your sexuality, or you feel like it's not being expressed properly. You're not being true to yourself. All of these things are meant to weaken you and stifle what you have the power to create. Just some food for thought. All right. Past lives. Now, don't get hung up on this, guys, okay? You could go in, because people make full-on businesses around helping people with their past lives. Is this valuable? Yes. Most of our modes of spiritual growth, are we graduating from that? Yeah. Okay, so if you haven't released some past life stuff yet, this is what's going to be happening to some of you this week. So, some of you might even have bad dreams, or some event might happen and it really, I'm just giving generic examples here, but some event might happen and it might really rattle you and you don't know why that upset you so much. That would be a past life kind of thing. And Jeremiah's in here, and Jeremiah helps with past life understandings, and he's sort of just shaking his head, and he's got it. Oddly, he has a book and he's pointing to it. Hold on. Some of you are married to your pain. You're not just married to your human story now, but you love hanging on to your past life stories too. I say this all the time because I hear it all the time. I was a witch in Salem and I was burned at the stake. Check your history book. Okay, take a trip to Salem, Massachusetts, honey. People were burned at the stake in Europe. They were not burned at the stake in Salem. They were hanged. Okay, so again, over romanticizing past life stories to try to sum up something that's happening in the here and now. You try that, especially after next Monday, and I don't know, it could potentially even, I'm getting the feeling like somebody gets sick. And it doesn't bring you the same satisfaction as it used to. Now when you approach any past life or any past life pattern that really needs to be broken, it's going to get real. And it's going to be in your face. And there's going to be no putting some, weird little story around it that makes you feel better, right? Or makes you feel more special. A lot of people, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people who would respond that way have already unsubscribed from my channel, so maybe they're not here. And whatever, God bless them. But what I'm getting at here is like, with the past lives, yeah, there might be some things that we have to understand from our past lives. But there's no more swimming around in that energy. There's no more of that. You're taking care of it. You're going to realize that you're going to take care of it. And if you don't, or you refuse, or you love hanging on to, oh, I was Cleopatra. And then that's why I have so much trouble with, whatever. That's going to end. Okay? You're going to feel that, you'll feel the lie behind it. You might even spark some realization that this has been holding me back. All right? Excuses. Using past lives as excuses. No more excuses. And this is why. The Eternal Embrace card, I'm going to read these out of order because I've already kind of talked about a lot of them, but let me hold them up. The Eternal Embrace card is paying off the debt that you've already paid off. Okay, this happens a lot of times with people who are like, I'm not going to throw terms around, but we're just meant to be. We're really connected on a soul level. That's not always a good thing, okay? Because the past life, maybe that stuff was already supposed to be done a long time ago, but you're like, oh, but I made a vow to be with you forever. Okay, careful with the word forever. You know how long that is? Forever is forever. Okay? So, you know, some of you this week might even want to do a meditation where you do a karma release, where you release old vows, where, you know, you finally let go of this past life story. It is not who you are anymore. And this might also mean that some of you are having to move away from, or you'll find that people just get taken out of your life. Not in like a bad way, but, you know, like, again, maybe somebody just moves away. Or, you know, some of you who have really gotten into another societal control mechanism. I can go on and on about this. Another societal control mechanism is love partnerships. And having the most special love partnership and blah, 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 blah. And it gets you off path. It really does. It gets you stuck. It actually lowers your frequency. You're in a toxic kind of thing. And then you're powerless. And then guess what? You're not pulling your weight. Come on out. All hands on deck. We need you, okay? Like the rest of us are going to get tired because you ain't here, okay? So just be mindful of that. If there's something that you know you might realize this week that you have to let go of, that might be a painful process. A lot of self-care. Archangel Samuel can help you with that. Archangel Uriel is coming in and saying, you guys need to kind of iron out the wrinkles here, okay? And I can help you do that. So just be aware of that. So if you realize that you've been hung up on somebody for a very, very long time, time to move on, because you're not that same person who once wanted that person. Does that make sense? You may have wanted them in a past life and you're still carrying that energy over here. And again, the societal thing of like, you know, again, through our media and through our music, it's kind of a codependent kind of thing that gets, you know, expressed. And so we think that that's the ideal love. And then we go into this delusion about what a true love partner is. And we get off path. We hold up our progress. People get into depression. Test me on this one. I've been doing this work for a few years now, and I have been exposed to every kind of energy you could possibly imagine. Like, seriously. Yeah, I've had ETs come to me. Okay? So, not like abduction. Okay, they didn't abduct. I think they know better. You know, I'd be like, because I would fight. I would. Be like, I didn't give you no kind of permission to come in here and experiment on me. Okay, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. But I'm talking like people who don't feel like they are of this world coming to me. And yeah, I don't know. But suffice it to say, I've seen it all. Almost. I mean, that's a grand statement. I'm exaggerating. Hyperbole. What are you going to do? But you know, there are people, I definitely have observed how the idea of love and this over-romanticized idea of love has definitely destroyed people. I've seen people completely lose their power because they're just so distraught that, you know, they're not making a what they call a real love connection, but what they're actually going for isn't real love at all. Okay? Then we get into the sacred sexuality. We're going backwards here. And I kind of already talked about this. Don't diminish your power. You know, your sexual energy is creative power. Okay? Preserve it. It's sacred. Oh, it actually says that. I said that like 20 times. Sacred sexuality. Sorry. But anyway, so there's that. And acceptance. Notice that she is nude. Now, Tony Carmine Salerno has a lot of naked people on his decks. I don't know what that's about, but hey, Tony. Hi. But she's naked, okay? She's, you know, she's starting over. She got nothing to hide. Well, she's sort of hiding. But she also, I kind of interpret this as having water around her, and water is emotion. So for some of you, in order to get to the place that you need to go, to get onto a higher plane, you need to heal some of those emotions, which might be attached to some past lives, okay? And you need to let those flow away. The nudity, to me, is like being reborn, fresh start. Okay. I'm waiting for the battery to go any second now because this is a very long video. All right, so let's get into the crystal card. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but I'm not sure if that was wind or if that was some sort of like aircraft taking off, but It was enough that it grabbed my attention. So see if that means anything to you. There was like a roaring, like engines roaring, like on an airplane. All right. That feels good. Let's see if we have one or two. I think I want two. I may have to change my battery. So if it cuts out in the middle, I'm sorry. Okay, so we have citrine abundance. So this is an abundance. Yes, it could be money. Stop it. Okay. Accept the abundance in all ways that's common to ya. It could be help. It could be guidance. It could be, you know, support. Oh, I dropped the card. And then we have meditation. So hold on a second. I just got to grab this. All right, so we have these beautiful colors here. We have Amethyst, which is meditation, citrine, which is abundance. And I think what these two cards are trying to convey is that it's time to connect, like we said right from the beginning, into that higher intelligence, into your higher divine self. Lay down your stories this week, okay? Amethyst is also very healing, helps you kind of, it helps with everything. As a matter of fact, I have like 3 pieces of amethyst, like right off camera here. It helps in so many ways. So if you have amethyst, get it out. Even sleep with a piece of amethyst underneath your pillow. If you happen to be traveling, amethyst is a great stone to have with you. Make sure that all stones that you use are cleansed, cleared, and charged. Every stone takes a different kind of treatment. So make sure you do your research before, like don't put selenite in water, okay? It's basically salt. It will melt. So just be careful. You don't want to put amethyst in your window. It will bleach out. And people who argue with me about this, I'm like, oh yeah? Go to some of these crystal shops where they have like their big prized amethyst. It's probably, God knows how much it's worth if we're talking in monetary 3D kind of terms. And they got that sucker in the full sunlight, and then you go back just a few weeks later and it's, you know, it's already losing its color. So be careful. All right. And then of course, citrine says you are an abundant being. And when you tap into this higher energy, you're going to realize this. And you're going to realize that abundance is so much more than you ever thought it was. It's so much more profound. There's an abundance of growth this week, an abundance of understanding, and an abundance of pure love. The pure kind. Not the kind that we put these romantic stories around. You guys know there are certain things that go on in the spiritual community that are a hard no in my book, because something just is not sitting right with that stuff. And I think it gets people, like we were saying before, down a very unhealthy path. And it keeps them from contributing in the way that they can and in the way that they should be doing right now. So I know this is a lot. It's almost a 40-minute video, but all of it was imperative for you to know. If you need to take this in installments, by all means, go ahead. Just watch 10 minutes at a time. But, you know, I am sending my heart energy to your heart. May we all be healed. We are healed. We're there. It's time to accept it. It's time to open up to this new way of being. All right? So please take care of yourselves. Be as good as you can be. And I'll see you next week. Bye.